Love trumps hate. When they go low, we go high. Tolerance, inclusiveness, spread love, not hate. These are but a few of the slogans that the left utilizes on a daily basis. The problem is that for many, these words are hollow, lacking sincerity, and therefore any meaning whatsoever. While the left can insist over and over about how much and how ardently they advocate for a utopian world of peace, love, and unity, their actions betray the artificiality of their words. Having been politically active since 2016, I've seen the ever-increasing radicalization of the left firsthand, from the front lines. At first, much of the discourse, while admittedly heated, seemed harmless. Edgy jokes, clever memes, banter, debates, and so on. But as soon as President Trump was elected, things took a noticeably darker turn. The first step was the censorship of dissidents, not necessarily of just right-wing voices, but of anti-establishment ones in general. This, naturally, was cheered on by the left. Their primary reasons for flying the flag of censorship were to stop the spread of fake news and to rid the public space of hate speech. The funny thing is that many of these pro-censorship advocates were guilty of spreading fake news and of engaging in hateful speech themselves. But this truth, of course, was largely ignored, drowned out by their unending and thunderous cries for censorship. In the beginning, dissidents were simply banned from social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and the like, but from there, livelihoods were attacked, with bannings from fundraising platforms like GoFundMe, PayPal, Patreon, and Stripe, and also completely demonetizing YouTube channels, and most recently, people are even being banned from their private banks. Freedom of movement was eroded in the form of dissidents being barred from traveling to certain countries, and in places like the UK, Germany, and more, dissidents were, and still are, being imprisoned for quote-unquote hate speech. And all of this was framed by an absolute onslaught of defamation and slander from far-left activists, Antifa, and the mainstream media, who united under the common goal of smearing everyone who disagreed with them, branding them with inflammatory yet false labels like Nazi, white supremacist, fascist, and white nationalist, which in many cases led to some having their reputations ruined, being ostracized from their social circles, and even getting fired from their jobs. Since the internet never forgets, once a person has been falsely branded with one or more of these labels, this scarlet letter, so to speak, they're forever stripped of their ability to live a normal life. The uncomfortable truth is that many nowadays aren't astute enough to consult sources that fall outside of the mainstream media. Comfortable in their gilded cages, their primary concern being what happens in the next Game of Thrones episode, they happily consume what they're fed, no questions asked. Unfortunately, though, the damage doesn't stop there. No longer content with destroying reputations, social lives, careers, and livelihoods, the far left has advanced into much more dangerous territory, now going so far as to either endorse or to downright commit physical violence against those they disagree with. While over the past years we've seen most of the political violence being propagated and committed by extremist groups like Antifa, today leftists on a grand scale seem to be in favor of political violence. But of course, if one of their political opponents ever decided to return the favor, engaging in political violence against them or one of their allies, they would act shocked, horrified, and outraged. They seem to subscribe to the mentality of, it's only okay when we do it. I imagine that many of you are already familiar with the story of the pro-life woman who, back in October of 2018, was roundhouse kicked by a hysterical leftist who disagreed with her stance on abortion. Well, just the other day, I came across a leftist Twitter account that had tweeted in support of this man, saying, "I still stand by this king," next to a clip where he had kicked the pro-life woman. The last time I checked, this tweet had garnered nearly 270,000 likes. That's 270,000 people who endorse violence against an innocent woman for the quote-unquote crime of being pro-life. Next, many of you are also likely aware of the milkshake craze that's been going on. While on the campaign trail, Carl Benjamin, also known as Sargon of Akkad, was milkshaked, as was Tommy Robinson. The media's response to Tommy being milkshaked was not to condemn the act, but to write a puff piece about the man who had assaulted him. Then Burger King decided to get involved, apparently endorsing throwing milkshakes at people like Tommy Robinson. Dear people of Scotland, we're selling milkshakes all weekend. Have fun. Love BK. #just saying. The reason this is relevant is because at this time, the police had asked McDonald's to halt milkshake sales during a Nigel Farage rally that was taking place. Burger King later posted a follow-up tweet insisting that they oppose violence, but many people found this hard to believe since Burger King had liked a tweet that read, "Open threat to Tommy Robinson and a subtle dig at McDonald's milkshake machines always being broken. That is why you the best, BK." While you could argue that milkshakes are harmless and that throwing one at someone is not a form of assault, why is it then that a man in the UK was sent to prison for 28 days for throwing an egg at Jeremy Corbyn? Lastly, we all recently saw the episode, or at the very least, the trailer for CBS's The Good Fight, encouraging people to get out there and punch Nazis, which is completely unjustifiable, firstly because it's wrong to ever attack a person unprovoked, and secondly because nowadays, the left regards absolutely everyone who doesn't agree with them as a Nazi. There are many more examples I could use, such as Kathy Griffin with a mock decapitated head of President Trump, Peter Fonda calling for Barron Trump to be locked in a cage with pedophiles, and verified Twitter users tweeting about doxing, assaulting, and even murdering the Covington Catholic boys. But I think what's also very important to explore is the question regarding why is this escalation happening? I think much of the answer can be explained by these charts, which illustrate that the left has drifted about 10 times farther to the left since the 90s, while the right has largely maintained a consistent position. As far as the left is concerned, there seems to be little to no nuance anymore. Their ability to see color has practically become non-existent, and like a bunch of 4-year-olds, they're now only capable of seeing the world in black and white. No matter where you stand on the political spectrum, if you simply don't agree with them, it must mean you're a Nazi and a fascist and an extremist. Trump is a Nazi, they say. Salvini is a fascist. Paul Joseph Watson is an extremist. Viktor Orban is far-right. Candace Owens supports Hitler. Lauren Southern is a racist. This manner of childish deduction generally occurs when people close their minds to debate, when they shut down all forms of communication with the opposition, and when they resort to conferring only with their allies, or in other words, restricting themselves to an echo chamber. The ending in such cases is almost always the same: radicalization. And the worst part about this radicalization is that powerful institutions like the mainstream media, who have a moral duty to condemn it, only do so when it comes to the right wing. When it comes to left-wing extremism, the mainstream media refuses to take a stand against it, much less even acknowledge that it exists. As these leftist extremists continue to be emboldened, they're going to continue crossing more and more lines. Their hysteria will deepen until it causes them to completely lose grasp of all reality. In fact, many of them already have. One of the best quotes I've seen to describe the current state of our society is, "A time is coming when men will go mad, and when they see someone who is not mad, they will attack him, saying, 'You are mad, you are not like us.'" My response to this is the same that it's always been. I don't support destroying a person's reputation or livelihood simply because I disagree with them, and I sure as heck don't support physical violence being committed against them. I strongly condemn political violence, except in rare cases such as self-defense or defending someone else who's being attacked. The main reason I wanted to make this video was to further highlight the rapid rate at which the left's intolerance towards those who oppose their agenda is escalating. Those of us who understand this escalation also understand that the time for observation has passed. Now, more than ever, it's necessary to speak out and to get active. But for those who can't afford to do so, it's extremely important then that you support those who can. Because if you believe for 1 second that these people are going to stop their attacks after successfully taking down those who are fighting on the front lines, you're fooling yourself. Sooner or later, unless you agree to submit to the chaotic world that the left is envisioning, you'll be their next target.